And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Clearwater County and Town of Rocky Mountain House special meeting for March 24th, 2025. All public meetings are live streamed and recorded. Any written or verbal information provided may be included in public documents as per the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP 41. So before we start off, just to note that this meeting will be co-chaired by Deputy Mayor Hutchinson and myself. So I'll call the county special meeting to order at 9 a.m. Looking to adopt the agenda before us. This is a motion. Thank you, Councillor Melhoff. All those in favor? And that motion's carried.
And this, I would like to call the meeting to order for the Town of Rocky Mountain House. We have agenda before us as well. I'd be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cabrero. And for the town, I'm looking for, what am I looking for? All those in favor.
There we go.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll call this public hearing to order at 9:01. The outline of the process to be used. Everyone present shall register. All persons wishing to speak shall be recognized by the chair. Any presenter, when told it is their turn, shall identify themselves, their organization, if any, and whether they are in favor of or opposed to the bylaw. If a presenter becomes repetitive, they may be limited by the chair. If a presenter or member of the audience becomes disrespectful, they may be asked to leave by the chair. No outside recording devices will be permitted. We ask that cell phones be turned off or put on silent, and breaks within the hearing will be called at the chairman's discretion. First, Planning Administration will explain the background to this application, and at any time, council members have the opportunity to ask questions. Any submissions received from other agencies will then be read out. Then anyone who is present and whom is in favor of the bylaw and amendments to the IDP will be asked to submit his or her presentation. Following this, comments will be requested from anyone who is opposed to the bylaw and amendments to the IDP. Administration will have the last word and thus respond to any issues previously raised. But before we start into the background, let's take a moment and do introductions.
Good morning, Jenny Mahoff. I'm the councillor for Ward 1. That's everything south of Highway 11A, straddling 752 heading west.
Good morning, Daryl Wahid, councillor or Clearwater County councillor for Ward 3. That's east central straddling Highway 11.
Hi, Dale Shipple, a councillor for the Town of Rocky Mountain House.
Brian Cermak, councillor for Ward 6. It's the pretty part of the county, way down south. Yeah, fantastic area. Thank you.
Tina Hutchinson, Deputy Mayor for the Town of Rocky Mountain House.
Michelle Swanson, Ward 7, Councillor Reeve.
Ken Moosker, councillor for the Town of Rocky Mountain House.
Good morning, everybody. Jordan Northcott, Clearwater County Councillor for Ward 4.
Good morning. I'm Neil Ratcliffe, a councillor for Ward 5, which basically encircles the town and heads west.
Jan has got it.
Okay. Morning. I'm Marley Capero, councillor for the Town of Rocky Mountain House. So I don't need to.
No, Jan will get it. The other one.
I just figured we could share. So Teresa Breeze, Town of Rocky Mountain House, Legislative and Protective Services Manager.
Catherine Jackson, Town of Rocky Mountain House, Legislative Assistant.
Jana Thompson, Legislative Services Assistant for the county.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clearwater County's Director of Planning and Emergency Services and filling in for the CAO today.
Dean Krause, Town CAO.
Kim Gillum, Manager of Planning for the county.
Dean Schwader, Director of Planning and Community Development, Town of Rocky Mountain House.
And thank you for that. So let's start off, and we'll have the manager of planning, Ms. Gillum, outline the background to the application, please.
Thank you. Oop. Okay, good morning. So I'm just gonna go over everything here. The existing Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan was adopted through Clearwater County Bylaw 87407 and concurrently adopted by the Town of Rocky Mountain House under Bylaw 2007/19 LU. Intermunicipal planning is an ongoing effort between two or more municipalities to make land use planning decisions in a manner that reflects the mutual and individual interests of the affected municipalities. IDPs are governed by the MGA under Section 631, and key components include requirements for adjacent municipalities unless mutually agreed, and exemption through ministerial approval. Joint adoption of the IDP. Both involved municipalities must pass bylaws to formally adopt the IDP. And purpose of the IDP, address future land uses, development proposals, transportation systems, and other issues within the shared boundary area. At their meeting on January 27th, 2025, the Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan Committee reviewed the IDP and recommended respective councils consider a bylaw to amend or replace the IDP bylaw. The proposed revisions to the IDP represent minor administrative changes to sections 5.1 for agricultural uses, 5.2 for residential uses, and 5.3 for commercial and industrial uses to better align the IDP with the current Clearwater County Municipal Development Plan and allow for more streamlined process for applications for second and third title subdivisions. So I'm just going to jump down to those sections. 17, I believe, is the page, Jana, where it starts for the changes. So 5.1 under agricultural uses, just under the objectives. To avoid the premature subdivision and conversion of agricultural land to non-agricultural use outside the policies permitting subdivision in the applicable municipality's municipal development plan. And then 5.1.3, we changed the wording for that one to say this requirement does not apply to second and third title subdivisions or redesignation within that rural policy area for subdivision. And then conversion of predominantly agricultural lands within the existing town boundaries and between the existing and long-term town boundaries to non-agricultural use shall not occur until an area structure plan or outline plan has been approved. This requirement does not apply to second title subdivisions and may not apply to additional subdivisions if the town and county have otherwise agreed in writing. And then under the residential uses on 5.2, 5.2.4, on lands within the long-term town boundary, residential subdivision shall be limited to second title subdivisions out of a previously unsubdivided quarter section. Any other additional subdivisions may not be allowed until the quarter section has been annexed into the town or the town and county have otherwise agreed in writing. And then finally, down in 5.3, commercial and industrial, 5.3.5, on lands within the long-term town boundary, subdivision of commercial and industrial land shall be limited to a second title subdivision out of a previously unsubdivided quarter section where those lands are identified on map 1 for those uses. Additional commercial or industrial development should be discouraged until the quarter section has been annexed into the town or the town and county have otherwise agreed in writing. So those are the predominant changes within the document. I just want to scroll back up to my item here. Okay, so being that an IDP is created by bylaw, a bylaw to amend or replace the bylaw is required in order to enact any amendments to the IDP, however minor. Attached for council's consideration for the public hearing is bylaw for county 25016 Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan. So the County Council approved first reading of bylaw 25016 at their meeting on February 11th at the regular council meeting. Following that, the town of Rocky Mountain House approved first reading of the amendments to the IDP under Town Bylaw 2025/04 at their meeting on February 18th. So today, the county and the town are both holding a special council meeting and a joint public hearing in order to for each respective council to consider the proposed amendments to the IDP, hear from members of the public from both the town and county, and consider the adoption of an updated IDP document. The amendments within the attached IDP are considered a first step to immediately address policy alignment requirements and to allow for processing of any application requests that have been forthcoming. As required by legislation, notice of today's public hearing was advertised in local newspapers, and comments were invited from adjacent landowners and referral agencies. Upon consideration of the representations made at the public hearing, each council will consider whether or not to grant second and third readings to their respective bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now ask if there are any questions from council, both councils, to the development officer. Councillor Milhoff?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. How easy is it to do a full review on this? I understand that we're having a joint collaboration meeting on the whole region, and changes may be needed at that time as well in order to ensure that the development needs of the town and the county are addressed then. And if the document needs to be changed, can it be changed again, or?
Yes, of course. So any additional amendments can be made after other discussions, for sure. And then I do have it addressed in my second and third reading item for our council, but administrations have been in discussion, and we do want to try to do a full review of the document, given the age of it, in the coming year, based on if both councils so wish. Yeah, just to do a full review to make sure it's still targeting what councils are hoping for, and then obviously if additional changes come up, amendments can be made before that as well.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there any other questions from council? Seeing none, then I would ask the development officer to present any comments received from agencies.
No comments were received.
Thank you. I would now ask if there's any member of the public wishing to speak in favor of the bylaw. Seeing none. So before moving on, we'd ask the development officer regarding any written submissions in favor of the bylaw.
None were received.
Thank you.
At this point in time, I'll ask anyone who is opposed to the application is invited to speak to the bylaw. Seeing none, I'll now ask Ms. Gillum, were there any written submissions opposing the bylaw?
There were none.
Thank you. I now invite administration to present any final remarks before we close the hearing.
Yeah, so we've had a few applications at the county, or people that have inquired, and given the current IDP, they can't even be considered by council, or administration wouldn't recommend it based on the IDP. So we proposed to town administration some amendments so that they could be considered. Whether they get approved or not is obviously up to both councils, or administrations and councils, but yeah, we just brought those changes forward, and we sat down with their administrations and worked through what we were both comfortable with, and this is what we've come up with, so we'll see what council feels.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other lights, I will close the public hearing at 9:13. No motions will be entertained at this time. Moving on in the agenda to item 4, which is the consideration of second and third readings for the amendments of the Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan. And I'll turn that back over to Ms. Gillum, please.
Thank you. So this is for our council. The purpose of Bylaw 25016, the Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan, is to repeal and replace Bylaw 87407 to revise sections of the document to better align with the updated Clearwater County MDP approved in 2023. The updated IDP represents minor changes to sections 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3, as I just recently went over. And you can review those in the public hearing item. The town and county administration have discussed bringing the IDP committee to an overall Rocky Clearwater IDP review and potential further updates with the process to take place as directed by both councils, and administration assumes likely later this year or early next year. At the regular council meeting held on February 11th, 2025, council reviewed and gave first reading to Bylaw 25016. As required by legislation, notice of today's public hearing was advertised in the local newspapers. Administration requests council consider granting second and third readings to Bylaw 25016. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just looking for reference. Is this something that I pass on and then we have a wholesome discussion with both councils, or is this item just be dealt with Clearwater County Council first and then to the town? I'll look across the room to Ms. Haight, Director Haight.
Certainly, I think if discussion would, to occur, I think now would be the time before any motions are entertained, and then I assume the town will have a bylaw to present similarly to.
Okay. All right. So County Council, any questions or comments on the IDP amendments as presented? Councillor Meloff?
Thank you, Reeve. I think that this is a great opportunity to remove some of the red tape that is part of development in the region. I think that it's important that we work together with our town counterparts to create good development avenues within the IDP area for the betterment of the region around the town. So I have no issues with this, other than I'd love us to have a full, wholesome review of the IDP and remove as many more barriers within that IDP area, because I think this is only removing some of them. I truly think there's even more opportunity to remove more barriers in that IDP with a wholesome review. So I look forward to that as well.
Okay. Would you entertain second reading?
I didn't know if we were having the debate first, but I
Okay.
can make the motion for second reading for the county council. Absolutely, I can do that.
Okay. So discussion around second reading. Go ahead, Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Reeve. In reading through this document, I think that the writers back in 2007, is it, put together a great roadmap for collaboration between the town and the county. I found it inspiring, so I will definitely be supporting this motion.
All right. So there's no further comments or questions. Councillor Cermak?
I do have a question on this agreement in writing between the town and county. Is that something that's gonna have to happen on every application, or do we have a standard form that is out there, or how does that take place?
Ms. Gill?
Thank you. Yeah, so if anything is within the IDP now, we send a referral to the town anyway. So in this case, we send a referral to the town and they consider how it would affect their future growth in those areas. And then rather than maybe an outright no, if it's in an area that they don't see growth in any immediate future, that they could say we are okay with or in favor of this application, or unfortunately, like this is in our future growth area and we don't want to see that subdivision in that area, and then they could essentially say that they aren't in favor of it, and then yeah, that would be that case. So it's just administratively looking at their growth patterns and our growth patterns and comments that way. So it's not uncommon for us to send referrals to them. It's just giving them an opportunity to allow it to proceed versus within the document an outright no at this point.
So therefore, it'll just take a few days longer to do that?
Yeah, it would be
sort of
within
thing?
our standard referral process, which is like the 30 days for subdivision and land use amendments.
And this is to second title and third title out of a quarter
Yes.
in this area?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So if there's no further comments on Clearwater County Council, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the amendments? And that is moved and carried, sorry. So we'll go on, proceed to third reading. Any motions? Councillor Cermak?
Make that motion
Thank
for
you,
third
Councillor
reading.
Cermak. Any other discussions in regards to third reading? I see there's, go ahead. Oh,
Sorry, I thought I turned my.
okay, no worries. Go ahead, Ms. Gillum.
Sorry, yeah, we would recommend maybe that the town have discussion on second before the county, just to make sure, because if they have any concerns, then we should address those.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you withdraw your third?
I will withdraw my motion then. You can consider the town. Sorry to jump over you.
All right, thank you. So under our agenda 4.1, any background from Mr. Schwader?
Just in regards to the bylaws in your RFP 2025-04 that will amend bylaw 2007-19 LU. Similar to the county, the changes are there. We discussed this at February 18th council meeting. If there's any questions from council, if not, I would recommend second reading of 2025-04.
Thank you. For town council, is there any questions, anything you'd like to discuss with Mr. Schwader? If not, I'd be looking for a resolution for second reading. Councillor Musker?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll make the resolution. Be it resolved that council gives second reading to the Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan Bylaw 2025/04 as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the town on that motion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Sorry, I get it right. I guess my only comment is sort of parallels Councillor Melhoff's comments, and that's that the IDP really does need to have a revision. It was done in 2007. I think back in the day, we anticipated our town is going to grow by millions. The bubble around the town that we control over the county, as to Councillor Chermak's point, I mean, this goes out past the golf course. The town will probably develop out by the golf course 2,000 years from now. So I just think it just needs, it needs revision. There's a lot of areas in it. When I went through it, the document of the day almost as wrote as if don't play in my sandbox. And I think that the councils of the day do need to play in each other's sandbox. So I think that it needs a revision. So my only point is that I think it needs to be done sooner than later. Removing the red tape, removing obstacles from any kind of development around our community is going to be a benefit to the growth of the area. And developers are hard to come by. And so if you find one, you need to work with them, not chase them away. So in 2007, there were developers. 2024, not so much. So we really need to have a different vision as to how we deal with anybody knocking on our door and removing any barriers that we have. So that's the comments I have, and I think the sooner we look at it, the better we are for both councils if we want to see growth in our area.
I'd like to offer a comment to Councillor, oh, I can't.
It's our meeting.
Sorry. I'll do it in third reading.
It's
hard, isn't it?
I know.
I could have said bad things, you can say anything about it.
I know, exactly. It's all good.
Well, I'll add to that at the ICC meeting, we did discuss that to quite a bit of detail, and that it is a priority for both councils to have that review done within the next year, hopefully sooner than later. Any other comments, questions from town council? No? I would ask then, all those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. I'll pass over to the Reeve.
So now we'll look at third reading for the consideration of, for the amendments to the Rocky IDP. Councillor Cermak.
I will bring that motion back to the floor then.
Thank you. Councillor Melhoff.
Thank you, Reeve. I will certainly be supporting third reading, but just to echo Councillor Schipholt from the town, I 100% agree. In fact, I think that you guys have some really good development incentive bylaws that you guys have put in place. And I think when we do this review, I don't know if there's a way to do it, but I'm going to put the bug in the ear of our administration. We should put a line in there showing that we can mimic those bylaws within the IDP area, so that it doesn't just extend the town borders, it actually extends the development incentives that the town has put in place in that IDP area, so that we can hopefully incentivize growth within that area. So hopefully we can do something like that. At RMA this last week, the province wants to see municipalities get to a one-day approval, or an auto approval, if you will. And this is a way to start down that process of actually doing what the province would like us to do, and to remove the red tape associated with development. So this is a great first step. Good job, team.
Councillor Ratcliffe.
Thank you, Reeve. Yes, I think the comments and the challenge, I guess, just presented by Councillor Schipholt and Councillor Melhoff are things that we need to get on with it. I appreciate those comments, and of course we'll support third reading.
Thank you. And as I was going to offer comments in the past, but I'll offer them now, I truly believe that these councils are very optimistic about the future, and we have a lot of opportunity in our area, so this is a great first step. I also acknowledge the fact that past council who at the time maybe didn't realize how past decisions have impacted 20 years down the road. And that maybe advice to future councils is to, it's unintended consequences. And that at the end of the day, it is our ratepayers that put us in these seats, and we want to encourage a positive region and see the growth that was optimistically back in 2007 to be 2,000 plus people, or sorry, 20,000 or whatever those projections were at the time. So I think this is great, and it's been a while since we've had a joint special meeting, and I look forward to more in the future. So, are there any other comments in regards to third reading for the county council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, third reading. And that motion's carried. Thank you.
All right, I'd be looking for a motion from town council for third reading. Councillor Capraro?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will make the motion, be it resolved that council give third reading to the Rocky Clearwater Intermunicipal Development Plan Bylaw number 2025/04 as presented.
Thank you for that. And I'd be looking, is there any questions, comments, discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
There we go. So we're now at the end of our agenda, so looking for a motion to adjourn.
You know you gotta do it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Northcott. All those in favor?
We never do
That's
that.
carried.
A motion to adjourn our meeting.